Excited. Well, welcome everyone to the Gaming Concept sixth season of our webinars. I am so excited today to be here with these incredible women who are leading in esports. And we're just going to start out today with introductions. And then I have some questions that are prepared, but we love to hear from our audience. And so we have some people that would, if you have any questions that you already know these people or you want to learn more, feel free to interrupt us. Michael Russell, I'll start by introducing him. Michael Russell is the #1 advocate for women in esports in my world, besides my husband. He's my work husband. And so Mike is joining us today. He didn't know for sure if he should, but I said, you can't have women leaders without men that are walking beside us and other people who are walking beside us. And so I said, that's what this is about today. So Mike is running the tech in the background and he's going to be answering your chat questions. And so let's start with Megan. Can you give us a brief introduction about you before we dive deeper?
Good morning, and thank you, Mike, for joining us. It's very generous of you. You're always welcome. My name is Megan Van Petten, and I'm the managing director and founder of the Esports Trade Association. And the Esports Trade Association promotes, protects, and advances the broader interest of the esports community on a global level. And I'm just so happy to be here. Thank you, Christy, alongside Purity and Meredith.
Very good. Purity, let's move along to you. Purity is coming to us from Nairobi, Kenya. And so it's about midnight there. So we appreciate you staying up and helping us to get a more global insight into what's going on in esports around the world. Thank you, Purity. Will you please introduce yourself a little bit?
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Purity Muiruri. I'm an esports lead and IT lead as well at EA East Africa Grand Prix Esports. As well, it is a department of the main company, East Africa Grand Prix Limited. And my main focus, or maybe my main job, is to create a community around simulation racing, as well as onboard other games like Call of Duty Mobile, Tekken, Valorant, any other type of game that the Kenyan athletes and gamers would like to venture in terms of esports here in Kenya. Pleasure
Incredible.
to be here among amazing ladies.
Thank you again, Purity. And we cannot wait to hear your story and how you got into those games in particular. That is one of the things that I really wanted to know. And then someone that I do know, Meredith Wilcox. Meredith, will you take a minute to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Meredith. I'm very excited to be speaking here with everyone. I love, just kind of uplifting women in esports and other minority groups as well. I actually had worked with Generation Esports back in 2020 up until about 2023. I served as a content producer and content creator before I went on to help launch Esports Illustrated, which is a esports vertical of Sports Illustrated. And that was a really fun project to be a part of. And then I've now come back to Generation Esports, bringing a little bit more marketing expertise that I gained with Esports Illustrated, and am now serving as their marketing specialist to help elevate the scholastic space once again.
And we are so glad that Meredith is back. And her going away was fantastic, though. She got some really great insights. Well, I am just going to dig right in. For those of you that don't know me, I am obviously Christy Custer, and I work for Generation Esports, and I am the president of Educational Innovation, and I lead a team that writes gaming concepts curriculum. And so we are one of the first, oftentimes I'll say the first, that brought 4-credit classes into the schools, 4-credit esports classes into the schools. And so I was an educator for 24 years, and 20 of those 24 years I was at a school for at-risk students. So that's just a little bit of my background. So I have a passion for kids. Sometimes my bosses and everybody at Generation Esports and our marketing specialist hates it when I say this, but esports is not my thing. I don't love esports, but I love kids. And I know that esports and kids go hand in hand. And so that is how I got involved in esports. And then sometimes I say that, but I am a master at Pac-Man. That's my jam. That's my game. So I like all of those games where you do the same thing over and over and over. I like to do that. So, okay. So just a couple of things. Like I said, Mike is going to be running the chat because I will get distracted. And so Mike, feel free to interrupt us if we get a question. And then I'm just going to start off by asking questions and then we'll see where this conversation goes. So Megan, I'm going to start with you. Let's talk about a little bit about leadership, vision. What inspired you to found the Esports Trade Association? And how do you ensure that the platform fosters inclusion and collaboration across such a diverse industry?
So you won't believe this, but when I first started in my career, I worked for a publishing company and we had 21 magazines in-house, but they were all B2B. So I was able to work there was 5 verticals, 21 magazines, and I was able to work alongside these amazing publishers. And none of the verticals were sports. They were more traditional verticals like real estate and hotels and Variety magazine out of Hollywood, all sorts of different B2B. And when I was doing that job, I loved the members most. I enjoyed, so if you have a sponsor like Coca-Cola, but they're a member of the association, there's a difference between a member and a client and a customer. So I personally fell in love with the member business. Old traditional trade school business magazines members. And that's typically your leaders of the space of an industry. LinkedIn would be full of the influencers, the people that eat, sleep, breathe what they do. So you, Dr. Christy, love doing things for education and kids,
Yes.
So that's just going to fire you up and keep you up all night. Right. So that's your influencer in a community. So the favorite association that I managed was in sports. And, esports was new. And my last association was the Fantasy Sports Trade Association. And that was a lot of fun. And when esports was, gaining some traction, many people said we could really use a trade association in this industry. And I looked at the opportunity, and what I liked most was the scholastic component. And we've stayed tried and true to the scholastic opportunity in esports. Yeah, so that's really how I got started. Thank you, Meredith. And diversification is really just walking the walk, right? It's making choices. Like if somebody asks me to speak, maybe I could recommend somebody that might be more diversified in that particular moment. There's certain people that I like to give different opportunities to. And then, a trade association is open to everyone and anyone. It's typically businesses, and we do have a global presence. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes. Well, and I think that we might find, and Purity, I'm not as familiar with your story, and I would like to stay with leadership, but one thing that maybe links most everyone in esports story is that we never really thought we were going to have a job in esports. Because it's so new, and no one really thought, this is one of those jobs, and I've taught this my whole career, is that we're preparing students for jobs that they don't even know exist yet. That was always my goal. And then I have a job that didn't exist, 5 or 10 years ago. So I always think that that's exciting. And those trade magazines, following trends and we were talking before we came on, Reader's Digest. I mean, that thing's been around for how many years? And and then we moved to you. So I think there's exciting careers in esports that we probably still don't have.
Yeah.
So sticking with leadership, Purity, I'd like to ask you, what did inspire you to your journey into esports leadership, and how has being at the forefront of the East Africa Grand Prix shaped your perspective on esports? Tell us a little bit about how you got here.
First I ventured into esports via it being a hobby. So it was during Corona that we were all stuck at home, wondering what to do. And that's why I came across Call of Duty Mobile and I started playing it just to pass time during that year. And then eventually the Kenya Esports Federation reached out to fellow gamers across Kenya in terms of, do you want to participate to represent Kenya on a global level, like for example in the global esports games? So for me, I saw it as an opportunity because I was so super interested in esports and gaming and all, and also visiting new countries. And I quickly took that opportunity. And last year, I was able to represent Kenya in Saudi Arabia. We came in first in Africa in terms of the Dota 2. So I didn't know Dota 2, but with Dota 2, I came to learn about how to strategize, how to play as a team, how to work together as a team representing your country and also representing Africa as a continent. So for me, that was super interesting. And as well, there was a company that wanted to venture into the Grand Prix, mostly simulation racing games. And they reached out to me and they said, would you like to come on board and help us develop a community around simulation racing? And also you continue with the hobby in terms of you gaming and the likes, and also growing the community as a whole. And I said, why not? So for me, it started as a hobby, ended up being a career. I never saw it as a career to say, because I did IT in campus. And for me, I know also a lot of Kenyans out there that are really wondering how easy it is to get into the esports culture and how difficult it is as well to have an esports community here in Kenya. And as women who are currently helping other young ladies to venture into the same is really motivating. And that's how East Africa Grand Prix is helping me at the moment. It is helping me foster a community whereby young ladies out there in Kenya who want a voice and they want representation, they have somebody who can represent them well. And also like they can come out in numbers, they can stop like hiding behind their mobile screens, their PCs. They just like they say, oh, there's Purity, she's representing Kenya in different levels. Why don't we have a community? Why don't we have a Call of Duty ladies community? We come together, we participate in tournaments. So it has been a challenging and also a successful journey for me. And I'm super honored to be in this position and to help also other women navigate the same in terms of esports in Kenya.
Yes. Purity, you mentioned mobile gaming first before you even mentioned PC gaming. Is mobile gaming, did you get your start on mobile gaming? Is that?
Yes.
Yes.
So mobile gaming is more like there are a lot of mobile gamers in Kenya because it's easy to access a mobile phone, unlike a PC with all the upgraded setups, the build that's like really super cost. That is
Yes.
really super expensive for us Kenyans and also maybe Africans. So us accessing a mobile, it is way easier. It is way easier to download a game and like follow up on it and also play with it, and like having a PC and the whole setup.
Yes. Okay, shifting a little bit to Meredith. Meredith, a lot of people don't know this, but your background is actually neuroscience and economics.
Yes.
How has that shaped your approach to marketing in esports and the things that you do in esports? And you're very data driven. I know this from knowing you. So can you talk a little bit how you use data? And that's probably why I even asked Purity, how is mobile gaming? Because I'm searching for that data. So can you talk a little bit about, the way that you got into esports, your background, and is this where you thought you would be with a neuroscience and economics? Is
Not
this
at
where your
all.
is this where your parents thought you would be,
Now they
Meredith?
thought I was going to be a doctor by now, but I am not. I am happy to be here instead. And
Yes.
Purity, I wish I knew you in college and school because not only do you have such like a radiant, like positive aura, I struggled so hard to find like female friends that gamed. And that was like for me in college, I became our student union's tech and games coordinator, and I hosted Smash tournaments. I did whatever I could to try to be involved. I was never good enough to compete in any of the games I played, which is how I ended up on the back end of esports. I did content for a little bit. I know you said you played Dota 2. League of Legends is my MOBA of choice, and I have now shifted to Pokemon Unite because it is, you can't talk and nobody can be mean to you. So it is
Yeah.
perfect for me now, which is also has a mobile component. So I was curious if that was one that had become popular over there for you as well.
So far not yet, but I believe there are a couple of indie gamers who play Pokemon, and it is like coming up a bit slowly here and there, but it is on the low level, unlike these major games like Call of Duty, Counter-Strike 2, Valorant, Apex, Dota 2. So I think that one is like on the rise, but not yet here in Kenya.
Awesome. Um, Kind of going off the mobile games too, at Esports Illustrated, that was kind of an avenue that we decided to start tapping into. We wanted to be one of the largest US-based outlets for esports since things like Dexerto cover, very hard over seas. And mobile gaming was something that we looked into a lot. You think about the density of different like countries and how easy it is, like you said, to access mobile games. So when doing like a campaign or something on Twitter, not only are we thinking about, okay, what's the ROI, return on investment of an ad spend or a campaign we want to push to, but where are we targeting and what game are we targeting, as well as what is kind of at the forefront of people in those communities. One of my favorite examples is actually a personal example of mine. I like to crochet, and I've been crocheting a lot of Pokemon accessories, and Reddit is a really interesting marketing tool to use in this industry because of how inundated you have to be in a community. And esports, it's grassroots, and people don't like esports fans do not like seeing an ad. They don't like seeing like a huge like third party push for any product. And Reddit, it's really hard to do that. So you have to kind of pop off organically. And so I had made one of these bee bags in the background and timed a post for it around the Pokemon Worlds, 2023 Pokemon Worlds Championship. And I put it in the Pokemon Go Reddit, and it got a lot of traction because I posted it super late since Worlds happened in Hawaii. So it's a lot of timing for not only the activity of people on an app, thinking gamer hours later in the evening, but also the timing of when people are online for different events, particularly because esports is so global, as we are seeing here today with Purity being up at midnight. Um, but yeah, it's just neuroscience has given me a unique edge with marketing since I'm very human behavioral driven. Um, I tend to think, what do I enjoy and what triggers kind of oh, I want to watch that again, and like the dopamine release that I would get, and then take that and apply it to a niche. So my best advice for maybe something like TikTok, look at what's trending, look at the audios, look at the the I don't know, the memes, and then find a way to apply that directly to your own product or industry. And that is how I ended up with Generation Esports is I did that and I went from 200 followers to 30,000 in a month. So that is, yeah, esports has that rapid growth and it's just the struggle is maintaining it.
True.
Well, I want to brag a little bit on Megan. So Megan, I hope I don't embarrass you at all about this, but you are were nominated for the Wise Woman of Inspiration Award. Yeah.
Yeah.
I dug a little bit to find out about this stuff.
They
Um,
do a good job. They do the Rising Star and the Women of Inspiration.
yes.
And they're just a great group. It's Women in Sports and Entertainment, and they have a local chapters. And we actually designed our chapters around their, I liked their style. The Esports Trade Association launched their chapters like less than a year ago. And I did it similar to Wise in the sense that every chapter has their own vibe, their own culture, their own way of doing it. Like we wouldn't want to tell Purity to do her chapter the same that maybe Meredith per se, if they were leaders, because Meredith has this passion for data and Purity is kind of like a mobile games, like let's get together and, compete a little. So, right. So, I love Wise. Not only do I lead associations for a living, I'm part of many. So I'm very much into doing what I say I do and literally being who I say I am.
Yeah.
So as a business professional, I'm part of trade associations. Personally, I'm part of groups and societies.
Well, we've often heard, and I think that the demographic is changing, but we've often heard that, there's a lot of men in esports. And so how do you encourage and maybe even more than encourage, how do you empower more women to take on leadership roles in esports and the sports industry in general?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And I guess I'm rarity in the sense that I just found my place. I had all brothers.
Yes.
And if you can imagine, there were times I was really feeling left out. I can remember certain activities. And what I would do is be extra creative. Like, for example, they all played fantasy sports. So I was the fantasy sports union organizer. We call that the commissioner in my house.
There you
So
go.
when I went to go lead the Fantasy Sports Trade Association, I literally sat at a table of a board of all men and one woman and convinced them that I wouldn't feel uncomfortable, that, happenstance, I had all brothers. And you'd be surprised that if you just walk up to whoever or sit down wherever, smiling at a stranger just creates a smile. So for me, I just created the opportunities. And when they weren't comfortable, I just, backed out, and just didn't do that activity or exercise. I mean, there were some things I just couldn't do with my brothers.
Yes.
But about 60% of everything I did do.
Yeah. Have you found, because we were talking before the webinar began, I have Mike. And if I'm getting in an uncomfortable position, I've said before, and Mike, this is absolutely to your credit, which Mike is, I have three brothers. I have all brothers also, Megan. So there's a commonality we have. But Mike is surrounded by women. Mike has daughters and his wife, and so Mike's surrounded by a lot of women. But I've often said that even at Mike's detriment, sometimes he will push me forward so
Yes.
that I get center stage. Have you found that's, first of all, is it necessary? Is it wanted? We have a lot of men that they're like, they Mike gets trashed a lot because he's a guy, in
Yeah.
esports. And so they automatically assume, I mean, what sometimes I think, and Mike, I'm speaking for you now, which I guess is okay since this is the women in esports, but I think sometimes he doesn't know whether he should step forward or let me do it myself. What's some advice that you can give to people that want to advocate for women in esports?
It's a great time to be a woman. It's a great time to be any color because we're celebrating differences. We're celebrating each other. And we're more educated than we've ever been to say things like, Purity, what time is it in Kenya? And just be present. Like, let's keep this show, Purity's got it. We've come so far. So my advice is be yourself, be as authentic as possible. and express, who you are, because you're perfect just the way you are.
Yeah. Well, Purity, keeping with this female empowerment, I just loved it when I read that you played Call of Duty and you are the Call of Duty mobile ladies captain, and
Yes.
you're also a women in games ambassador. So,
Yes.
what key challenges do women in esports still face? We've come a long way, as Megan has said. And what strategies have you found most effective in overcoming them?
So what some of the challenges that we're still facing as women is biasness. People are not really allowing us to play the games. They have that mentality that this game is only for the guys, it's only for the
Mhm.
men. We don't need to have ladies here. Ladies should just go over there, continue cooking, continue taking care of their kids and the like. So people right now I can say the male dominated field is feeling a bit shaken that women are coming up. We women are gaining more popularity in the esports scene. We are dominating the esports scene. As we speak, I've recently come out of a scrim session with the ladies, and it was against the guys, and they were totally and really impressed that we have these skills in terms of gaming, that we can like set aside time to game. So being underrepresented as well in these political scenes for esports, people, we are not getting that much podium, or maybe say shine, a lot of shine on us, we as women, because they're more focused on the men, that they want the men to participate in tournaments. They, whenever there's a tournament happening, they foresee men registering more than the ladies. But I being in such a position has helped me create a community whereby, hey ladies, let's come together, let's go to these tournaments, let's go show them who we are, that we have these skills, that we can also be in these podiums, we can also win these prize pools. So for me, underrepresentation, toxicity, gender biasness, lack of being included in such spaces has been one of the key challenges that we have been facing as women. And for me to successfully stride against this is to have a community whereby we can come together, play together, and then participate in tournaments. We show them that we are capable as you guys. We are able to play the same games you're playing, and maybe we lack a few skills here and there, but we're striving to get better, and having scrims, having mini tournaments, playing against ourselves, playing against countries like Uganda, Somalia, Egypt. We are improving, we are getting there, and we are definitely we'll be on the same level with the guys, and if not the same level, we'll be on top. So that's what I have for, for the ladies in Kenya, and any lady out there who feels like they are not empowered enough to be on the top, be on the leaderboards, because I have ladies on Call of Duty leaderboards, top 5,000, and you're like, oh my God, where do you get the time to play? So it's time for us to like really shine out here and take that position. It's not meant for the guys only. We are equally skilled enough to take these positions. Nobody is entitled to such positions.
We have a question. Can I, or do you want to?
Yes, Mike, can I ask, because I did happen to read it, can I ask Meredith a question first?
Sure.
And Purity, I'd like to follow up on that too, is what I'm hearing also is opportunity. That
Yes.
is one of the things that is helping to elevate everyone, is just that, you being from Africa, you know, I don't know if 5 years ago, if you would have had the same opportunities, even that Meredith and Megan and I would have had being from here. And so I love that, when you talked about we play here, we play here, we play here, we play these games, the opportunities that have opened up around the world, not just, I was speaking to someone from Turkey that I worked with, and she was the one that really opened my eyes to it. And she said, I think sometimes you don't realize the opportunities that you have that I don't have. And that's woman to woman. And I went, wow, sometimes I don't think about that.
Yeah.
And so that was an eye-opening moment for me to think, I need to, like Mike has done for me a lot, I need to offer opportunities for other people also, especially in this space. And Meredith, I want to look at this whole topic from a different angle, kind of the marketing angle. how do you, with such a diverse audience in esports, what strategies have you found most effective in engaging these different demographics and offering opportunities, from casual gamers all the way to the hardcore competitors?
I think it really comes down to like content and like the way you kind of like carry yourself. Like for like a personal brand, I mean, how you present yourself, how you talk to your audience, and the content you stream is really going to dictate heavily the kind of audience you bring in. XQC is a great example of a very popular gamer and streamer with like a terrible audience because that's just how he carries himself. And he, leaned into the toxicity when he competed in the Overwatch League. And he just kind of kept it up. And now he has like this terrible 13-year-old middle school, like aggressive community. But then you have people like Valkyrie, who's one of my favorite female streamers, who I think she's probably, if someone were to ask me who's your go-to like female role model in esports, it would be Valkyrie. I think she handles herself very well on stream. She's fun and cute and kind of the way you think a streamer should be, but she's professional and works on large projects and is smart with how she kind of has developed her own little empire. Christy and I were actually talking earlier about how um as I got my start in content creation, and met a lot of people that way, but only me and one other girl decided to go more the professional route. One of my friends went on to be a social media manager for Dignitas for a while, and I found my way at Generation Esports since it was local to where I lived. And I don't have to worry about the stress of, does my community like me still? Do they like the content? Oh, heck, I only ever stream League of Legends, and now I feel like I can't do variety. So these streamers really lock themselves into a brand, and there's so many parasocial relationships today with, chronic onliners, which is a crazy thing to even think about. The pandemic really kind of escalated that whole idea that me, a consumer behind the screen, am entitled to a content creator or a celebrity. So when you think about like kind of representing different groups, it really comes down to the kind of content. And we just need to see more like women stepping up to be like a role model. But that's also like a lot of pressure to put on a content creator or a celebrity and isn't necessarily their responsibility. I think there just needs to be maybe more third party public relation and marketing groups that can make themselves available to these creators to help their image. I don't think it necessarily is the creator's responsibility to have to be thinking of that all the time, but I think they should have access to a resource if they care to present themselves in a certain way.
Could you imagine that, Christy? Could you imagine like posting something and having your own followers like reject what you're saying? This is a whole another world of pressures. Like I know, Christy, you specialize in mental health and, really have pillars in helping children propel forward. And I think you wrote the book on it, right? Or some classes and programs. Imagine the pressure this generation's under. And I say that because I know Christy and I are of the same generation. And Meredith, it's just things we would have never thought about. And it's so real. Another one that's really hard for me to get my head around is you better win. Now, I mean, that existed when I was in school per se, and Dr. Christy, excuse me. But what didn't exist was sometimes the financial part that comes with it as well.
Yes.
Which is really high stakes. And it's just absurd. I bring up these heavy topics, but Meredith really gets me thinking here. This is a great webinar.
Well, one of the what I relate that to is a class that Mike taught gaming concepts at our school. So Mike was our social studies teacher and business teacher at our school. And so I teased him a lot about working hard, Mike. They would be playing video games and he would be relating,
Yeah.
what they were learning, teamwork
Yeah.
and communication, and he was making it intentional. But a student walked out of Mike's class and I said, "Hey, what did you learn today in gaming concepts?" And he said, I learned that no response is a response.
Mm.
And at first I thought he was kidding, but this was cutting edge for him. And I thought, that's common sense. Don't respond. Don't we wish every adult would take, let's talk about X amount of weeks until the election. Don't we wish, no matter what side you're on, that no response could be a response? And I think, Megan, when you're talking about these challenges that young people and older people, who's teaching us this is happening so quickly, and
Yeah.
our social norms are changing so quickly? Who's teaching us, and what standards are we following? Where's the the etiquette class on this? And it's nowhere, because I don't know necessarily what the etiquette is, because I don't use a lot of the technology. And so they're having to learn so quickly, pretty much on their own.
We need like gaming cotillion.
Yeah. Well, I'll go even further back. So I hope some of our listeners will, like a dear Abby, this is my, or Miss Manners, this is my dilemma. What am I supposed to do? Type thing. Yes. And we joke about it, but I mean, kids ruin their lives. And on a serious note, we know that some kids, go to the extremes, and they will hurt themselves or commit suicide even because of what being bullied online, or they were stupid and they took a picture, or it is life and death. The issues that we're talking about are life and death issues. So we're really getting deep now. Mike, I know you have a question. There's still that question out there.
We do have the question out there, and I do think it's well, we all think it's a great one. I think this is definitely something that's been discussed for a long time in esports, and I think it'd be something to bring up. So it says, I'd be really interested to hear the panel's thoughts or opinions on being able to achieve true open unisex teams and tournaments, particularly at top professional levels, and given that currently there is no evidence to suggest any meaningful differences in esports performance related to an individual's sex. What do you think needs to change to achieve this? Do you think it's realistic to achieve anytime soon?
Meredith,
can I take a crack? I actually, I didn't get a chance to read that question, but I kind of share the same sentiment. It's a sensitive topic in, I think, some competitive circuits. Just because there is no biological difference. Riley Dunn actually posted her intro in the chat. It was very intriguing to me. PhD student studying specifically the effects of menstrual cycles and women in competition. I grew up playing sports, and there were definitely some of those off games when your body wasn't cooperating and you couldn't physically perform. I do think that there is a similar impact, even gaming. On some days, your body just is going under a different experience than what a biological male would endure. I do think we're entering an era where the next 10 years, like 10 years, 15 years from now, we will see those high tier competitive female gamers. I think Valorant has really opened the doors to that. When I'm on TikTok, I will see those videos of full female lobby. And I'm 25, and even in like my age group, I still don't think there's a lot of people that were gaming when I was in high school. The only people I played Smash Bros with were women. I was not allowed to play any type of shooter game, even though my brother, 2 years younger than me, could. So I think the reason we don't see high level competitive female gamers and all female teams now is due to like societal expectations of women needing to be nurturing, and these violent video games will, they're not for women. So I think while yes, there's literally no physical difference except for maybe a man having easier access to a pro controller than and I have to use a tiny controller to get the buttons I want. I can't use claw grip in like a game like COD. So there's very slight physical benefits, but I think in the next 10 to 15 years, we will see those high tier open league all women teams, because it is a subject that I like to bring up when, especially Esports Illustrated. I always like to ask, Valorant women, like, hey, why are you guys playing in the women's league and not the open league? Like, what's going on? Nobody likes to talk about it. It's always everybody likes to win, so I get it. But I do think women were just kind of held back societally, and now it's okay to game because during COVID, everyone was gaming. So I think we're going to see an influx in the next 10 to 15 years of that high competitive female team.
Meredith, this is my lack of knowledge, so I apologize. Can you not use the claw because the controller is too big?
I wish
And
I
so
had
is it just a matter of making it smaller? Is this a
kind of, I wish I had my smaller, I have two different controllers. This is not a great way, but like, this is the size of my hand, and like, my controller is pretty much the size, and this is a Nintendo Switch controller, but like, my boyfriend has a large Xbox controller and he will hold the controller
yeah.
like this so he can, use more buttons and triggers. I cannot do that very well. In fact, I don't even use this very well. And I will just play with Joy-Cons because my hands are just they're too small. But like PC gaming isn't really a big deal.
Yeah.
Because those it's just a keyboard and mouse.
I guess it shocks me because and once again, my lack of knowledge in gaming, but basketballs, there's men's and women's basketballs, there's
Mhm.
men's and women's shot puts, there's men's and women's, this in sports that just is a thing. I guess I'm surprised that the controllers aren't different sizes. I'm very surprised by that.
Nintendo does, but I think Nintendo has smaller controllers because they expect their audience to range from
Age.
children to adults.
Yeah.
Exactly. While it'd be interesting to see if like PlayStation or Xbox ever decided to make a smaller controller for that reason.
Yeah. Purity, you do play on all female teams. Do you have some insight to this? Some different insight or the same insight? What are your thoughts?
So they're not they might be the same, but for us ladies, we usually mo use our mobile phones, and at times you can
Um,
find a lady playing with their three fingers or maybe their four fingers on their phone. So like
yeah,
it really depends on the type of game that you are gaming at the moment. And for us, ladies, you can find in a team two people are using a foregrip, maybe three people are just using two fingers to like play, and it really depends on the person and how they've learned how to play their game well, because a lot of us female gamers, we watch a lot of YouTube plays, so that you can be able to now like understand how your game will feel and also how your controls will be like. So for me, I'm a two finger user, but most of my team members, they're four, so like they're completely covering their phone in terms of moving around, sliding, grinding, and also like crouching and the like. So it really depends with your knowledge in terms of the game that you play also.
what are your thoughts on all female teams?
My thoughts on all female teams. I believe in like the next 5 years, we'll have them topping the leaderboards. As we speak, we'll be having our first Kenyan Call of Duty female ladies team participating in a tournament like 3 weeks from now. And also, eventually, before the year ends, or maybe at the start of next year, I'll be hosting a tournament, and it will be one of the biggest tournaments in Kenya. So I believe the ladies who play FC 25, the latest FC, and also Call of Duty ladies, and also Tekken ladies, they'll be showing up in this tournament. So for me, I believe in the next 5 to 10 years, we will be on top. We'll be among the leaderboards and also occupying the different game titles across the world.
Yeah. Mike, I have to bring you in on this one a little bit because I know you have opinions on this. Can we give Mike an opinion on this one?
Well, I mean, I do have a lot of opinions, and our first captain of our Overwatch team at school was female, and she was amazing. She was the best. She walked the walk and talked the talk. She was really good. And also had leadership skills, which was amazing. It was either by luck or by training or along the way, or just her having great parents or whatever. But she was great, and really enjoyed having her on the team and being a part of that. But we started out in our team, we was basically other than her, it was all male. But by the time I left, we were about 60-40,
Mhm.
and starting to increase that. So we were seeing a lot more female participation in the after school club. And so there was a comfort level there. I think that, and it was a matter of training the boys also to be, you know, nice to the girls and letting them be a part of the club, right? I mean, that was part of what we did
Just
too.
good
So there
teammate.
was education there and making the women feel empowered to be, have those leadership roles and do call outs and things like that. So, but the thing I wanted to really point out is um, I like to think of myself as a semi-pro StarCraft 2 player. Many of you probably won't know what that is. I'm a legend in my own mind. But I played a lot of hours and I watched a lot of, when I first started, I watched a lot of men to learn how to play because that was really all who streamed. But I did start to follow one female, really the only female that ever played StarCraft 2. Her name was Scarlett. She's from Canada. And what ended up happening is I started to get a lot better because I started to play from a female's point of view as opposed to a man's point of view. I started to learn strategy different because she played different. She had to play different because everybody else was playing the same. So she came up with a different strategy. So I was able to kind of learn different strategies from her and actually started to win a lot more because I wasn't doing what was standard. So she had figured out, or just through genetics or however that works, but she had figured out to think differently. And I learned that from her. So I got a lot better. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share. I'll be quiet now.
That's very cool. And Dr. Chris, I keep talking about how long we've come. So an example I'll give, and I can remember this, I could smell the pizza. When I was growing up, we would go to this pizza place called Aurelio's in Chicago, and there were games there. And I would show up and I could see my brother's initials as winners.
Oh,
I never won. So dexterity wise, I was not as dexterous, or the games weren't built to fit my hands as well. Either way, they always won. Here's what I won at. I won at chess. I won at Dungeons and Dragons. I won at checkers, Monopoly.
Mhm.
And this is what I love about the opportunity for women today. And also I think my mom, and I don't want to go really far down this lane, but she did a really good job on gender centrism. I hung out with the guys as long as I could keep up with them, and they were in the kitchen if they were hungry, cooking. So my mom was very early as a single mom in the example of the the barriers that society has put on women and the barriers that society has put on men. And I think we're in a real opportunity in the next 10 years to just see that cultural change. And we're seeing, I know it sounds silly, but like men holding babies and really participating in parenting, and 50 years ago, you just didn't see that. I mean, some women didn't even work, let alone a man staying home and the woman working. So it's so cool that we're just seeing each other as people. And so I was early in that, and I'm really good at losing. But there was just, and there's some character involved in that, and some sportsmanship that, can be learned to stay in the game. It's really easy to sit on the bench and yap, yap, yap versus get on the court and just keep playing. Get back on that horse, get back in that game. Lots and lots to learn in sportsmanship in esports.
Well, Megan, I think it sounds like you were really good at losing, but you were even better at getting back up.
Totally. That's
Yeah.
right.
That's why
I still am really
yes.
good at losing and really good at waking up with fresh enthusiasm each morning.
Yes. And Megan, just to stay with you, I know you do a lot of podcasts and you've interviewed many leaders on your podcasts. What reoccurring themes or advice have stood out to you as critical to building a sustainable esports career? I know we have some high school students and even people who may be considering a career change. There's educators on here. Thoughts on
That
that?
is such a good question, and I know you're going to love my answer, Dr. Christie. And I mean it.
Okay.
Do what you love,
Yes.
and you will really never work. And be what you are. Like I see Danielle work there. We always joke that I'm the cheerleader of esports, but I am. I'm a natural born cheerleader. I never played football, not even powder puff day. I love cheering people on. I love casting. I love saying, you go, man, because it just brings me so much joy to see people shine and win. Really, it's a genuine gift of mine. So I really think if you don't know what your gift might be, think about the things that come easy for you and keep doing what's easy for you and get really good at those things. Go with the flow of ease and grace. And if you're confused about what you're great at, get a coach. Talk to Dr. Christie, talk to Mr. Mike, talk to your teachers, talk to your leaders, talk to, I'm not sure who our audience is we're talking here, but I'm guessing students. Go ask someone, what am I great at? What am I good at? Stay in that lane. That's my best advice in the whole wide world.
Yes. Well, and I had been in education for 24 years. And in fact, I had been in school for, almost 40 years.
Yeah.
Now that's all I ever known. And I remember when Mike and I were talking about joining Generation Esports, and Mike said, what will you do if this doesn't work out?
Yeah.
Why not jump? Go jump.
Yeah.
So that you don't, no regret.
Yeah.
Go jump. And really, what is the worst thing that's going to happen here? What, I go back to the best job I ever had, education,
Yeah.
So I just think that fearlessness and having those people and my husband was unbelievably supportive of, yeah, go see how this works, go make a difference, go try something. So I think that support and then just having that fearlessness is so important also.
And here you are still in education.
Yes.
In esports. And that's a great example of the career pathways because everyone is a gamer. We all play, and people that play together stay together.
Yes. You mentioned also, Megan and Purity, I want your view of this, the mentorship. And so Purity, can you talk a little bit about how the role of mentorship, how has that played in your career? And both ways. Have you had a mentor? And I'm certain that you are a mentor. I know that. And how can leaders in esports build more mentorship programs to empower the next generation of athletes, professionals, women, men, whatever?
Um, from my perspective is that having a mentor who's guiding you along the esports path is really awesome because out here you'll find a lot of shenanigans that you don't want to like really meddle in. But if you have a mentor who's directing you and showing the path and steering you to a different direction that will either earn you income, earn you a hobby that will be a really good hobby that can maybe steer you away from drugs and the likes. So having such a mentor is really key to your like entire whole being because for me I didn't have a mentor while starting esports because for me it was purely a hobby, so I just like decided to focus on my hobby and create something out of it. But as we speak, there are different mentors here in Kenya coming up and taking this role in terms of esports and helping the young adults in Kenya and also the teenage people and also the kids to have to use this hobby of theirs so that they can be able to either earn an income, stay away from drugs because as you all know, teenagers are more exposed to drugs if they don't have anything they're doing at the moment. But they can use their hobby, spend like 2 to 3 hours with their amazing hobby, maybe interact with different people from all over the world. Like you can see, I've interacted with you people from different states in the world, and I'm from here in Kenya. And having such opportunities as a mentor and also the mentee is really encouraging because at the end of the day, you can structure a way to focus on your studies and also have something that will be able to be engaging with you over the weekend. So having a mentor is really key in guiding you towards the right path. And also have you being a mentee, you should be open to ideas, open to creativity, open to having that knowledge to understand how different strategies work in the esports domain and how you can incorporate them in your like job, in your entire career eventually. So integrating the two will bring a beautiful synergy in terms of you being as a person, also you having different career paths to venture into. For me, this has been really key and instrumental because I have been mentoring ladies. It's like a way of giving back to the community what I've learned, and it has been really amazing because I recently engaged with students who are between the ages of 13 to 18, and they'll be competing in a Microsoft challenge, the Master Chief Halo competition here in Kenya. And it's purely for kids, for Microsoft to engage with the kids, teach them how to be strategic, play together as a team, have that curiosity, have that mind to solve problems, like critically think how can you like work your way out of this situation. So for me, that's like a really good place to mentor young kids as they grow up and also have that bonding time as well. Recently on Sunday, we had a tournament around simulation racing, and I had the opportunity to see a father and a son competing together in one tournament. They're
Oh,
it's like the father is teaching the kid that whenever they're spending time together, they have that bond, they have that family bond, that no matter him spending hours during his work sessions and his kid being at school, at least during over the weekend, they have a tournament that they can attend together, have that bonding time together, show the world that this game is not just for the Gen Z, it's not just for the millennials, it's across all ages and anybody can compete and anybody can have that bonding sessions with each other. So from my perspective, having a family involved, having a mentor involved, having a career person also involved helps you to like strive as a person, helps you to steer you in the right path, basically. Because for me, it has worked. I've seen families out here engaging their kids, and I can say we are heading somewhere. Let me just say, having a mentor and mentorship really is the key to progressing in this life per se. Yeah.
Well, Mike's giving me the clock. He's having me watch the clock. So I want to make sure, first of all, ladies, thank you so much for joining us. And Mike, thank you for moderating and joining us also. I want to spend a little bit of time with each of you just to give us, a shout out to what you're doing, what products, what Purity, you kind of told us a couple of things about Microsoft and some of the things that you were doing. Megan, what are you doing? How can people find you?
I love this magazine. First of all, it is the best thing ever. Remember, I said always do what you love. I started in publishing, and here I am. It's brought to you by Coca-Cola. Yes, but we would love you to thank you, Dr. Christie. We would love you to make a contribution. It comes out 2 to 4 times a year, and it's the magazine for esports. And I put the link here to download it, submit articles. We want to hear from you. We do member features, but I promise you it's like the best thing we do in the association, probably because I love magazines. But that brings me to community. I also love being part of a community, leading a community, especially in fast, exciting industries like sports and entertainment. So everyone's welcome to join. If we don't have a chapter in your area, let's start one. They're all different. They all have a different vibe. They all have a different culture. And isn't esports fun? Mm-hmm. I guess my favorite part of esports is bringing together students, brands, business, and government, and getting them in one room. I love student-led activities brought to you by great brands like Coca-Cola or Xbox. I heard a couple different brands today. I love, love, love all of it. And Christy, Mike, thank you so much for this incredible webinar today and for all that you do to make it, all you do at Generation Esports to provide this wonderful platform.
Megan, I missed the link because we do send out an email also. So
Oh,
make sure
cool.
that it went to everyone and
Ah,
not to
I missed that.
just okay. So
Yes, it
because
will be
we
coming.
will send out the link also and an
Okay.
email. Meredith, what are you up to?
Despite being a marketing specialist, I do not like to use social media. I stopped using it once it became full-time work. Honestly, the passion projects of mine now are just helping get gaming concepts out into schools. Again, I saw someone said earlier they have like 18 students in their class, all girls, and they're split 50-50 between Smash Bros, Mario Party. Uh, just keep that up. I just want to help get esports into schools to help these like girls find their friends to game with because I was ostracized from my female friends for hanging with the dudes. They just didn't like to play the games I played, and it was lonely. So that's just kind of my passion project here is helping the scholastic scene, getting Generation Esports, gaming concepts, HSCL, all those competitive leagues and opportunities for students. And if it's not competitive because people just don't have the reflex for it, Gaming Concepts has our streaming courses and shoutcasting. I do think that's also another reason, perhaps, why we don't see a ton of women maybe in competitive. I think a lot of them see like tremendous opportunities in streaming. And I do think esports is shifting in that direction too, where orgs even want competitive players that are also content creators. It gives them more value to joining a team. So yeah, just uplifting gaming concepts in the schools and providing opportunities for these young women and young students across the board.
Mm.
Purity, close us
Uh,
out here.
I'm working on a couple of projects. Majorly, some of them will start officially next year, like varsity tours. So we'll be doing campus tours in Kenya. This is where we'll be having mini tournaments in different games, having different campuses across Kenya get the opportunity to get themselves involved in esports. Other than that, I am teaching a group of kids to play the Halo Master Chief Collection in collaboration with Microsoft. And this weekend will be our third. And my biggest, I believe it will be one of my biggest achievements before the year ends, or maybe the year next year starts, is hosting a tournament whereby I foresee around 1,000 to 1,500 gamers attending across Kenya, and it will be around 6 game titles. So I hope that it will be successful and eventful, and it will be one of the biggest events, esports in Kenya as we speak. Yeah.
Well, all three of you, Megan, Purity, Meredith, Mike, thank you for joining us on the Gaming Concepts webinar. We will be sending a copy of the, uh, not a copy, a recording of the webinar along with an email with the contact information and your professional development certificates. If you're an educator, I know how important those are. Um, and so I just appreciate you guys taking the time. Purity, you staying up. Thank you for everyone that joined us. And until the next time, we will see everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Thanks,
thank
Dr.
you.
Christie. Great job. Great show.